Ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing this message, you're not late. You're right on time. There's a powerful truth that too many people miss in their walk through life. You're not late. You're right on time. In a world obsessed with deadlines, milestones, and comparison, it's easy to feel like you've fallen behind. Social media shows us highlight reels of people who seem to have it all together. Families, businesses, ministries, wealth, influence. You begin to ask yourself questions like, did I miss my moment? Or shouldn't I be further along by now? These thoughts are heavy, discouraging, and often lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and even the desire to quit altogether. But the truth of the matter is that divine timing is never early and never late. It arrives exactly when it's supposed to. And if you're reading this now, you are not disqualified, forgotten, or running behind. You are exactly where you need to be for what God is preparing to do next. It's easy to judge your life based on the pace of others, but your journey isn't theirs. You weren't created with their blueprint, their calling, or their path. There is no such thing as being behind when you are following a God who doesn't measure your worth by your performance or your pace. He measures your life by your obedience and your willingness to move when He says move, wait when He says wait, and trust when everything around you tells you it's too late. You could have made mistakes. You could have taken detours. You could have ignored the signs for years. And yet the grace of God knows how to redeem time. He knows how to take what the enemy tried to delay and turn it into a launch pad for purpose. Too often we live under the pressure of manufactured timelines. We believe lies like, if I don't succeed by 30, I'm a failure. Or if I don't get married by a certain age, I missed my chance. But God never asked you to live by artificial deadlines. In Scripture, Abraham became the father of nations in his old age. Moses started leading Israel at 80. David was anointed king as a teenager, but didn't sit on the throne until years of hardship, delay, and preparation. What we call waiting, God calls refining. What we call lost time, God calls training ground. Even Jesus waited until he was 30 to begin his public ministry. That wasn't delay, it was divine strategy. When you're walking with God, the timeline isn't what matters most. It's your alignment. You can do the right thing at the wrong time and miss the impact God intended. But when you walk in step with Him, even your slow seasons have purpose. Even your detours become testimonies. Even your pain becomes preparation. Right on time means that your current season is not a mistake. You haven't failed just because you don't see results yet. You're being positioned, matured, stretched, and sharpened. The world may call it being behind, but heaven sees it as being hidden until the appointed moment. And when that moment comes, it won't matter how long it took. It will only matter that you were faithful in the waiting. Seeing this message is no accident. It's a whisper from heaven that says, stop mourning what you think you missed. God hasn't passed you over. He's preparing you for something better than what you were rushing into. If you'd gotten it earlier, it might have crushed you. If you had reached it faster, you might have fumbled it. God isn't just interested in getting you to the blessing. He's preparing you to carry it well. Trust the process because you're not running out of time. You're walking into your time. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment, it's all leading you to something that's right on time. God works in seasons, not just dates. That statement alone can shift your entire perspective if you let it. In our culture, we're trained to measure everything by the calendar, birthdays, deadlines, anniversaries, and achievements. We attach significance to specific days and expect breakthroughs to show up on schedule. But God doesn't operate by man's calendar. His work in your life is orchestrated according to seasons, periods of growth, pruning, waiting, stretching, sowing, and eventually reaping. And the moment you understand this truth, you stop panicking when your miracle doesn't come on the date you expected. You realize that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. It simply means the season isn't finished. When God is preparing something significant in your life, He doesn't rush the process. He's not in a hurry like we are. You may feel like you've been stuck in the same situation for too long, but what looks like delay to you is often development in the eyes of heaven. A seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted. It goes through a hidden process underground where it develops roots, gains strength, and prepares for breakthrough. If you dug it up too soon just because the calendar said it was time, you'd destroy the very thing that was meant to grow. The same is true in your spiritual life. There are seasons when God allows you to be unseen, uncelebrated, or even uncomfortable, not because He's punishing you, but because He's preparing something deeper within you. People often get discouraged when they compare their life to someone else's timeline. They see others succeeding faster, reaching milestones earlier, or walking in opportunities that seem out of reach. But comparison only creates confusion because you're looking at someone else's season, not your own. You may be in winter while they're in spring. You may be in a pruning season while they're in a blooming season. But neither is better. They're just different. A tree that is stripped bare in winter is not dead. It's conserving strength. It's getting ready to bloom again when the season shifts. The same is true for your life. What feels like loss might be God's way of trimming back the things that would hinder your future fruit. What feels like silence may actually be sacred preparation. God's timing is never bound to our expectations. There are divine appointments set in eternity that will only make sense in hindsight. You may not understand why a door closed or why a relationship ended, but when the season changes, clarity comes. Looking back, you'll realize that what you thought was a delay was actually a rescue, and what you saw as a setback was really God setting the stage. The problem is that we want spring harvests with winter faith. We want results without going through the rhythms. But every promise God makes has a process, and every process has its purpose. Learning to recognize the season you're in helps you walk with peace and patience. If it's a season of rest, stop striving. If it's a season of growth, press deeper. If it's a season of waiting, stay rooted. You don't have to force things when you understand seasons. The fruit doesn't rush to ripen. It simply stays connected to the vine. That's your job, to stay connected, to trust that God is working even when nothing seems to be moving. He's lining up people, positioning opportunities, preparing your heart, and protecting your path. He knows exactly what He's doing, and when the season shifts, nothing and no one can stop what He has ordained for you. Delay is not denial. That truth alone can heal a weary heart, renew lost hope, and bring peace to a restless soul. We live in a world that moves fast. We're conditioned to expect quick responses, instant results, and overnight success. So when things take longer than we planned, when prayers go seemingly unanswered, or when doors don't open as expected, we often jump to conclusions. We assume the silence means no. We interpret delay as rejection. But what we call delay, God often calls preparation, protection, or perfect timing. He's not withholding from you. He's working for you, even when you can't see it. There are times when God's love shows up in the form of a closed door. You may have begged for that opportunity, cried for that relationship, or planned your life around a dream that never materialized. But what if the very thing you're calling a missed blessing was actually a hidden rescue? God sees what we cannot see. He knows what's ahead. And because He's a good Father, He would rather frustrate your plans than let you walk into something that would destroy your destiny. Delay can feel like punishment, but in reality, it may be the highest form of mercy. It's hard, though, because delay can feel so personal. It messes with your faith. It makes you question if God is even listening. You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you missed His voice, or if somehow you've disqualified yourself from the promise. But that's a lie from the pit of hell. Delay is not God's rejection. It's not proof of His absence. In fact, delay often means the promise is still alive. It just isn't ready yet. Or maybe you're not ready yet. God doesn't just care about delivering the blessing. He cares about who you are when you receive it. He doesn't want to give you something that your character can't carry or your heart isn't mature enough to steward. In the Bible, there are countless examples of people who had to wait for what was promised. Abraham waited decades for a promised son. Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, and prison before reaching the palace. David was anointed king as a boy but waited years, through rejection, danger, and hiding, before he wore the crown. Even Jesus waited 30 years before beginning His public ministry. None of them were denied. They were simply delayed. And that delay shaped them into the people who could walk fully in the assignment God had placed on their lives. Waiting seasons are never wasted seasons when God is involved. Sometimes what looks like a delay is really a divine setup. God is aligning the right people, the right opportunities, and the right timing so that when the moment comes, it won't be forced. It will be undeniable. You won't have to manipulate your way in, beg for validation, or try to prove yourself. The door will open, the path will be clear, and your heart will know this is what I was waiting for. And it will be worth every moment of delay. What's coming won't need hype. It will carry the weight of heaven's yes. You may feel overlooked, but you are not forgotten. You may feel stuck, but you are being steadied. You may feel like time is running out, but heaven's clock runs on a different rhythm. When you walk with God, delay doesn't mean denied. It means something better is being prepared behind the scenes. It means He is doing something deeper within you before He does something greater around you. It means the promise still stands even when the process takes longer than you thought. So don't quit in the waiting. Don't stop praying, hoping, building, and believing. Because what God has spoken will come to pass, not on your schedule, but in your season. You still have time. That simple truth breaks the lie that it's too late, that you've missed your moment, that your best days are behind you. It pushes back against the pressure of timelines and the fear of lost opportunities. In a world that measures success by speed, age, and appearance, it's easy to believe the enemy's voice when it whispers, "You're too old now," or "You should have started years ago," or "There's no point trying again." But heaven doesn't operate on your clock. God isn't limited by your age, your past mistakes, or your delays. As long as there is breath in your lungs, there is time for God to move in your life. There is time for healing, restoration, transformation, and the fulfillment of every promise He made. Sometimes life doesn't go as planned. The vision you once had gets buried under bills, heartbreak, failure, or fear. You thought you'd be further along by now. You assumed you'd have accomplished more, seen more, done more. And the temptation is to believe that it's too late to recover what you lost. But the truth is, God is a redeemer of time. He restores what the locusts have eaten. He gives beauty for ashes. He doesn't just restart the clock, He rewrites the story. Your delay is not the death of your purpose. It may be the soil in which something greater is being formed. Some of the most powerful moves of God in Scripture and in history happened through people who started late or thought their time had passed. Moses didn't begin leading until he was 80. Sarah laughed at the idea of bearing a child in her old age, and yet she did. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." The prophet Anna spent her whole life in worship and prayer, waiting for the Messiah, and when Jesus was brought to the temple, she was right there to witness the fulfillment. These stories remind us that divine timing always overrides human limitation. What matters is not how fast you run, but whether you're still willing to move when God says go. There's still time to mend what was broken. Still time to forgive and be forgiven. Still time to love deeper, dream bigger, and serve more boldly. Still time to build the business, write the book, finish the degree, launch the ministry, or take that first small step of obedience. It may not happen the way you imagined, but it can still happen. Time hasn't run out. Your belief just needs to be stirred again. You've survived the storm, and that alone is evidence that God isn't finished with you. If He were done, you wouldn't still be here. The greatest lie the enemy wants you to believe is that it's too late to change, too late to try, too late to make a difference. But if you believe that, you forfeit the power of grace. Grace says today is still a good day to begin again. Grace says the past has no power over what God can still do in your future. Grace says the story is still unfolding, and the next chapter might be the one that makes all the others make sense. The timing of your life is not determined by culture, trends, or pressure from others. It's determined by God's sovereign hand. And if He's allowing you to hear this message, it's not to shame you, it's to awaken something in you. It's to remind you that the clock hasn't run out. It's to give you permission to believe again. Because whether you're 18 or 80, 5 steps ahead or 10 steps behind. Grace levels the playing field. Heaven is not watching the clock, it's watching your heart. And if you're still willing to trust, still willing to move, still willing to believe, then you still have time. This is a wake-up call, not a deadline. There's a big difference between the two, and how you interpret that difference will determine how you respond to this very moment in your life. A deadline pressures you. It tells you time is almost out. It brings fear, anxiety, and a rush to make something happen before it's too late. But a wake-up call is different. It doesn't tell you you're out of time. It tells you now is the time. It's not about fear. It's about focus. It's not a warning of loss, but an invitation to shift, realign, and awaken to what matters most. A wake-up call shakes you, not to scare you, but to stir you, to help you see what you've been missing, what you've been putting off, and what you've allowed to drift. God often speaks to us in whispers, but sometimes we need the jolt of a louder voice. Sometimes life throws unexpected events, delays, disappointments, or even divine disruptions into our path, not to destroy our rhythm, but to correct it. When you see a wake-up call for what it truly is, you realize it's an act of mercy. It means God cares too much to let you sleepwalk through destiny. He'll send messages, moments, and people to challenge your complacency, not because He's angry, but because He knows there's more inside of you than you're currently living. He's not counting you out. He's calling you up. Many people confuse the tension they feel during these moments with condemnation. But this isn't about guilt or shame. This is about clarity. It's about realizing that you were made for more than coasting, that the dream you shelved isn't dead, that the healing you've postponed still matters, that the assignment you've been avoiding is still waiting for your yes. A wake-up call doesn't announce an ending. It declares a beginning. It's not the toll of finality. It's the sound of alignment. It's heaven tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "Get up, child. It's time to move." What makes a wake-up call powerful is that it comes before the turning point. It's your chance to pivot, to course correct, to re-engage with purpose. It's a gift of timing, not a sentence of pressure. The enemy wants you to treat it like a deadline, to panic and spiral and give up before you've even begun. But God is saying, don't run from this moment. Rise in it. This isn't the end of your opportunity. This is the moment to prepare for the next one. This is the alarm clock of grace ringing in your spirit. Too many people think they need to have it all figured out before they start moving again. But a wake-up call doesn't require perfection. It just requires a response. It's the moment you admit you've been drifting and decide to return to intentional living. It's when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and realize this as is the perfect moment because it's the one you have. It's when you stop saying someday and start saying today. When you stop replaying your regrets and start rewriting your response. This message is not here to make you feel like you're behind. It's here to remind you that you're still in the game. You haven't missed it. You haven't ruined it. You haven't run out of time. But you have to wake up. You have to listen to that inner nudge, that holy discomfort, that sacred disruption. Because it's not a countdown to loss. It's a call to action. Not to panic, but to prepare. Not to fear the future, but to step into it with faith. A shift is coming. Get ready. That's not just a motivational phrase. It's a prophetic truth for those who have been sensing deep down that something is stirring. You can feel it in your spirit even if you can't see it with your eyes. You've been in a place of waiting, wrestling, and wondering. You've endured dry seasons, silent seasons, and seasons where nothing made sense. But deep within, there's a quiet awareness that the winds are changing. Something is breaking in the unseen realm, and it's about to manifest in your life in a visible, undeniable way. That's what a shift feels like. It's subtle at first, almost easy to miss, but when it arrives, it transforms everything. God is a God of timing and order. He doesn't move randomly. He moves in seasons and moments. And when it's time for a shift, you won't need to force it. The door that was stuck suddenly swings open. The opportunity that was out of reach suddenly becomes accessible. The favor that seemed delayed suddenly finds you. But the shift won't happen without your readiness. Readiness doesn't mean perfection. It means expectation. It means you're watching, praying, preparing, and walking by faith, even when nothing around you suggests movement. It means you're tuning your heart to heaven's frequency so you can respond the moment the window opens. Many people miss their shift not because God didn't move, but because they weren't ready when He did. The parable of the 10 virgins in Scripture is a sobering reminder of this. All 10 were waiting for the bridegroom, but only 5 had oil in their lamps. When the moment came, only those who were prepared could step into what had been promised. That story isn't about fear, it's about focus. It's a call to stay spiritually awake, to keep your faith fueled, and to guard against distraction, discouragement, and spiritual laziness. A shift doesn't always announce itself with loud fanfare. Sometimes it comes in the form of a quiet opportunity, a divine connection, or a simple act of obedience that opens the floodgates. Getting ready for a shift also means letting go of what no longer fits the next season. You can't bring old habits into a new chapter. You can't carry bitterness, fear, or small thinking into a space that requires boldness, faith, and trust. When God is about to shift something in your life, He'll start shifting something in your heart first. He'll stretch your perspective, confront your comfort zones, and call you to higher ground. That internal shaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're being recalibrated for what's coming. The discomfort you're feeling is a signal that the old shell is too small for the new growth God is calling forth. This is also a season to be sensitive to divine instructions. Sometimes your next breakthrough isn't tied to a major event, it's tied to your obedience. God may ask you to sow when it doesn't make sense, to serve when no one is watching, to move when the timing seems off. But trust that every act of faith is making room for the shift. What you do in this moment matters. The attitude you choose, the words you speak, the prayers you pray, the people you surround yourself with, all of it is either preparing you or preventing you from stepping into what's coming. When a shift comes, it changes your position, your perspective, and your pace. It breaks delay, removes obstacles, and reintroduces favor. But shifts come with responsibility. You must discern the time, prepare your heart, align your actions, and expect the miraculous. This is not a season to sleep spiritually. It's a season to rise, to stay alert, and to get your house in order. Something is moving, something is breaking, something is aligning. You may not see the full picture yet, but the pieces are falling into place. Stay faithful, stay watchful, stay ready, because the shift is not just coming, it's almost here.